Hi everyone, I'm Sandie La Nae. Welcome to Psychic Creations. We have a very interesting show for you today as we will be meeting and learning about a special person who has the title of Tree Man. Please welcome to Psychic Creation the fabulous Ron Bell.
Well, thank you, Sandy.
Hi.
Super being here.
It is. It's an honor to have Ron on our show once again, and with a new interest and business, which he's going to be telling all of you viewers about, which is called
Happy Roots and Shoots. We
Yay.
do tree service.
Isn't that a cool name? Well, I'll tell you what. How about if you can explain to our viewers just what that's all about?
Well, let's just say right now, it's why is a tree guy dressed in a Pony Express outfit? Well, I'm here to deliver a message. There's so much stuff, Sandy, that people don't understand about the nutrients in trees, why they die, why they survive, and that kind of stuff. So,
Okay. Continue.
I could go on for an hour, but
that's all right. Well, let's see. Let's talk about your business first. When and where did the company originate?
Well, it's kind of a joke. I worked for another company, BAMAG Solutions. I asked BAMAG Solutions if they would support doing tree service, testing trees. So I started. They said no, they didn't want to do it. Then I asked them, well, do they care if I do it? No, they didn't care if I did it. Do they care if I start a company? They said no. I said, well, it's a conflict of interest. They said, well, it doesn't matter. It's no problem. So I started doing testing on trees, trying to recover trees that have been in stress, either through dry conditions, water, all kinds of different things, improper nutrient, lack of nutrient. All of those things come to play in what we do with Happy Roots and Shoots.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
That kind of gets it started.
Mm-hmm. I see. Okay. Well, when did you begin working with this company? I know you just kind of answered that, but at what time? When did you start?
Well, I really started focusing on it 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
a little
Okay.
bit.
Mm-hmm.
I started testing some stuff here locally, putting out some paperwork. I've really started to take the bull by the horns here in the last 3 months, 4 months. I started doing some advertising just to see, anytime you do a business, is it really a business? Or is it just something you're doing for entertainment?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think from what I'm seeing right now, it is actually a business, though it's going to take some work to get it up there.
Mm-hmm.
What we're finding out is that, trying to figure out how do you get your customers to come use your service.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is one of the things that we focus on is taking soil samples. I've talked to hundreds of agronomists and landscapers and all this stuff, and you ask them, why do you put fertilizer on? Why do you put that brand on? Why do you do this? And a lot of them, they say, well, that's what we've done for 40 years. Well, the difference is what I do is I'm an investigator in a way. I run across a product that I use called Unibest. So if I come to your house and I say, hey, I want to treat your trees or your yard or something like that, and you're going to say, well, okay, that's fine. What are you going to do? And why? You should ask that. Well, number one, they don't know what or why because they don't know what is available in the soil.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So you can have multiple nutrients. You can have every nutrient in the world in there that needed to be. But if it's not bioavailable, if you don't have that to where the plant can actually eat it, then it's absolutely useless. So what we do is do the soil sample testing. We do that on commercial ag, large properties, little properties, in your backyard. When I get that soil sample, I send it in the mail, and we have a little pill inside of it. It's an ionic resin. That ionic resin uptakes the nutrients that are in the soil that we took out of the root zone. And by the time it gets to Walla Walla, Washington, and they test it, they take the date that it was taken, then they analyze that, and then they send me back a report, and it tells me how much of the unit of how much NPK I need, whether I need iron, zinc, copper, all those different things. And at that point, I can make a decision, talk to the customer, and say, look, this is what we need to do. Then we can inject it into the tree, into the ground, into the root system for your trees, plants, and shrubs.
That's really a process.
It is. And it's, to me, it's the logic way to do things. I mean, if you got a doctor appointment, you generally, if you got something, you generally have to get labs. So
Sure.
why would the nutrient system in plants, which has got a metabolic system typical of a human body,
Okay. Oh.
why would you not use the same theory?
Right. Okay.
So through that testing, Sandy, we've done like onions for a number of years here. We checked onions and we've been putting materials on. Without the system we're working with, maybe you get 12 to 14 ton per acre of knee-high onions.
Okay.
Well, with our stuff, we've been consistently getting 18 and a half to 19 ton. So, you know, and what was really funny, one of the agronomists that had been using this system last year didn't do it. Guess what? He got 12 ton, and his dad ended up with 18 and a half ton.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, corn, the same way, wheat, barley, all that stuff. Tree recovery, we get additional crops in your tree farms, almonds, avocados.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we took that data, the stuff that I'd learned for the last 4 or 5 years, and I started utilizing that data package in Happy Roots and Shoots for the backyard. So we're using very complicated data, very high quality data to be able to come into a backyard and say we can do this, and then we give the trees and the plants an opportunity then to recover and get the maximum growth that's possible.
Isn't that amazing? That's amazing. Oh, wow.
Even scares me.
Well, I was going to say that is a long-winded process, isn't it?
Really is, but it's the right way to do things.
I kind of agree with you with that.
Yeah.
Not kind of agree. I do agree
Well,
with
thank you
with that. Yeah.
Wow, we
there
made
you go.
thank you. We made a home run here.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh. How long does it take, like for a tree that's sick or in distress, like you were saying, how long does that take, the process, and then the nutrients being put into the root system? How long does that usually take before a tree really responds?
Well, some of them are within a week or two. That soon. I have, I'll just tell you a little thing that's going on right now. We have some stuff in the western side of the Carson Valley over there, out of up towards Genoa in that area.
Okay.
And the runoff is so heavy this year. We got trees out there just drowning. And one of the big problems we have is the clay soil. Clay soil does not give up water very easily. And it gets really hard and it's clunky and all that kind of stuff. Well, what's happening right now is that a lot of the trees out there have water logged into the roots. So what we're going to do, I'm going to be treating some stuff next week. I'm going to be using a product that's a carbon penetrant that'll actually coat the lower part of the tree. That then will go directly into the roots it'll force the tree to have excess oxygen, which will help get rid of the problems with the tree being flooded with water. Then we're going to be using an ionic form micronutrient to throw energy into the plant. It's a high redox, that's a high millivolt reading in there with a low pH. So we're going to break the soil down with the carbon penetrant. Then we're going to put the material in there with the high redox, which is the BAM-FX. And then what we do is most of the trees out there, and the reports I'm getting back, have very little nitrogen. So what we're doing is some of them need potassium. But so we'll put the mix together in a tank. We'll go in and inject them, and we should see recovery probably within a couple weeks, starting to recover.
Quickly.
Yeah, but sometimes it takes longer.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. We did a test over, I told the guy in Mountain View, California, that I thought it was a waste of time to go ahead and treat his trees. I thought they was too dead. And he said, well, would you please try? He had a cedar over there. I swear I thought that thing would never make it. It's right in a curb area, parking lot on one side, street on the other. no way for the plant to get nutrient. Well, we started injecting that thing with the nutrient and fertilizer, and that turned, and actually within about 6 months, we turned that tree around and saved 8 out of the 10 ornamental cherry trees. Surprised me. I didn't expect it, Sandie.
Sure. Oh.
That's why I do this. I really enjoy being able to help the trees and plants.
Well, you've had such wonderful proof.
Well, you know, it's not scientific proof, but how many tendencies turn out to be a real proof?
That's true.
Yeah.
Very true. Oh, how fun. I bet that's amazing and wonderful for you to see, like a before and after.
You know, people really like their trees. And,
Sure.
and they, you know, and a lot of them don't even understand. I've got some people out in some of the areas that's got blow sand. There is nothing in the blow sand for the tree to eat. They wonder why it doesn't grow. Well, you know, I went out on a couple of them and I hit them with a high energy product to turn them on, but then they don't feed them. So what I did, I was using the one product to turn the tree on, expecting the person to feed it.
Okay.
Well, that wasn't happening. So we would start it to recover, and then it would just not do any more. It would just sit there. So what I started thinking is, okay, so I'll use some local fertilizer here. There's a company called Golden Grow. They produce a low salt fertilizer. So I've hooked up with them because we got a lot of salt and alkali in most of the soil in Nevada. So what we end up with is by taking that low salt fertilizer, now what we can do is I can not add to the problem, but we can feed it, energize the plant, and start the recovery process.
Wow, that's amazing. How do you, or what device do you use to inject the nutrients into a root system?
Well, we do it on deep root injection. We do it at about 10 to 12 inches around the tree.
Okay.
And the size of the tree makes a difference on how many ounces of material.
Sure.
So
Okay.
what we do is that we take the data that we got back off of the Unibest soil sample. We take that, then I take in the tank mix, I put the ratio of chemical with the water. I'll put 40, 60, depending on how many trees we're doing.
Sure.
It may take 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, whatever the amount of trees we're going to do on per load. So we'll mix that, then we'll mix the energy part, which is the BAM-FX. Then we'll add the fertilizer, which is the Golden Grow fertilizer, and other nutrients we need. And then we'll put the, if we need the carbon penetrant and some of the other stuff, we'll mix it, put it in there, and then inject it. And we do about 60 ounces every 10 seconds. So we do a 10-second injection, we do 60 ounces. So every 2 injections, you get about a gallon. Okay. So we go around a tree, and a big tree, we'll put sometimes 8, 10 gallons worth of fluid around it. Smaller trees, 3, 4, 5 gallons.
Okay. How interesting. Very interesting.
One thing, Sandie, I didn't mention in there is the reason that I like doing the deep root injection. I do it at 65 psi.
Okay.
So when we inject into the ground at the 65 psi, we break up the soil. So in hard soil, we'll break it up, and that gives a soft spot for the roots to grow with nutrient in there. So that actually accelerates the growth of the roots because of the ability of it for it to mine for new materials.
Interesting. I love this. You're like a tree alchemist.
Well, I just kind of doing the experiment, Sandie, and then we find out how things work. And
Right.
So.
Oh, I'm loving this. I am just loving this. Now, does your company, do you use your process for like only orchards, or is this like my pine tree in the front yard, or bushes, plants and bushes like in businesses, you know, where they have plants growing in their offices?
I don't necessarily do the inside plants.
Okay.
That's not something we've been looking at, but any yard size, I mean, coming out, I don't know, you got the one, looking at the one pine tree out here. Generally, that's a pretty, it's hardly worth my time coming out, but we would still do it. But then if we do the rest of the stuff, but we would do probably on that tree would be somewhere I would say probably that tree take about 10 gallons of material at $3 a gallon plus $1 an hour to do the service work.
Okay.
So, you know, so you ended up bucks and 50, about 80, 90, $100. Most application rates, you go out on a house, a backyard, you're going to do probably around dollars
Okay.
to take care of that. Then you go to some of the larger landscaped operations. I did one outfit here last year that 30.
Okay.
That was a large. I had 3 pages worth of injections.
Oh gosh.
And I have, I don't know how many I injected out there. I think it was close to 600 injections.
Is that
Yeah.
right?
So we was really doing that. But some of them was shrubs, which is 1 injection.
Okay.
Like you got a rose bush or something, we just put the probe in, inject it at one time. I just did a job here a while back. Guy had a bunch of transplant trees. He was losing them. And I'm going to that transplant stuff in a minute. But what we did there was that we went out and injected those trees, and they were starting to show stress.
Okay.
And his stuff should start returning start turning around, because I did it just before this hard weather. So as soon as the temperature starts coming up, the microbials in the soil will start kicking in and all of that. But here's what happens a lot, Sandy, on transplant trees. You get your tree, you get your hole dug, they put the fertilizer in it, they put the mulch, they do all this stuff, and then they cut the bag loose and has they break that apart, and then they tie it off. Well, you have a 3-foot hole or 2-foot wide hole or whatever it amounts to. But what happens is that none of these people actually look outside of where the root ball is or even check what's available. So after 2 years, the nutrient has been taken up out of the root ball. Once the root ball is taken up, then the tree starts to struggle. That's what happened with him. He had like $27,000 worth of trees sitting over there. It's starting to go bad. So what we're trying to do is, when I do a job like that, I'll give it maybe 3 injections in the root ball.
Okay.
Then I'll go out and I'll do like 6 or 8, maybe 10 injections around the drip line. The drip line is, which is the outside edge of the tree.
Oh, okay.
So that's where most of the active, and that then will give the rooting a softer area to mine in. It'll also give you the ability to get nutrients in a larger area. So the roots that had grown out there that didn't have anything to eat, then they'll have something to digest and chew on.
Yeah. How interesting. Now, do you also use this process for like grasses for like let's say golf courses or I don't know, just specialty places where the grass has to be green?
That is I've got some paperwork off. Golf courses are really funny because they've generally got people who really think they know everything that there is to know about stuff, and it's kind of like you're not going to tell them much.
Okay.
But what we're finding out is I've got one I'm working with right now. I'm curious whether they're going to do anything. But what we do is the Unibest has a specialty kit that's strictly for golf courses. And the other thing we have for golf courses that I have access to is being able to test the water system. I can check if you're worried about, and this goes into large farming operations too.
Okay.
I can monitor the water. Say you got a river or a stream going through your ranch or by a ranch. I can put a test strip in there that'll monitor for like 30 days. And I can put one at the front, one in the middle, and one at the end, and I can tell you in real time when we process that for that month what the nutrients were that was being discharged into that water course. So we do that. With the golf course, we can do the same thing with what's going into their ponds. We can check what the ponds are, what's in there. We can also take a look at the what nutrient. This is something that nobody else can do. I can tell you how many pounds per day per acre of nutrients going to be taken up by the plants or grass or whatever.
Oh, that's amazing.
It is, and then we do it on pounds by hour, pounds per day, and that's how we can forecast nutrient requirements for almost
okay.
any plant.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Now, is this with the process? Can this be used on fruit trees as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah, fruit trees really works out well. We do the same thing there. There's another thing that we do that nobody else does. I've got some stuff in apple trees. We've done them. We've done almonds, pecans, avocados. Avocados really go nuts with if
Really?
you're doing it right. They have trouble getting copper into their leaves. We was able to uptake that. Same with pistachios. We've shown the ability to do that. But yeah, that's a completely different. Quite interesting to be able to take a test and see how what the potassium level is or something, or copper or zinc in a plant or a petio, and then take it out. But plants, you know how when we're feeling good, we're healthy, we've got them vibes going. Well, you can tell a lot of that's being done by how we test with electrolytes and all this kind of stuff in your tests that they do at the doctors. In a plant, we have the ability in a plant to be able to do what they call an intersect test. The intersect is a sweet spot that a plant likes. The plant wants to live at about 7 to 7.5 pH.
Okay.
And it wants to be at about 425 millivolts in the plant. Nobody does that test except me, that I know of.
Yeah, right.
I mean, if they're out there, I don't know. So what we do, I can go out to a fruit tree, or I can go to your pine tree, and I can cut samples. And when I do my soil testing, I use an EH/pH meter, and I log the energy in the soil, the EH and the pH, along with that. Then what I do, I get the soil sample back. Then we be able to take, like your pine tree. I take the needles off your pine tree. I put it in your blender. I put it in my blender.
I don't have a blender.
Well, I put it in mine.
Okay.
And I grind that material up, and then I weigh it. I weigh the amount of material. I put distilled water, equal weight, and then we make a soup out of it. Then we strain the soup, and then in that soup, I can tell whether that plant is happy or whether it needs work.
Really?
We can do that. We've done it on marijuana plants. We've done it on corn, wheat, barley. I mean, grass. It's a common test, but nobody does it because they don't want to take the time, or most of them don't even know about it.
Well, sure. Yeah.
But the product I use has we talked about millivolts.
Right.
The product I have, one of them, which is the BAM FX, has a millivolt of for about 475 to 550. There's no other product that I know of has that. So the USDA come up with that test, but there was no product on the market that actually would raise the millivolt in the plant.
Okay.
So we can log now. I can go out and we inject your tree. I can come back in a month. I can take the needles off your tree, redo the test, and I can tell whether your tree has gotten healthier or not just by doing an EH/pH test on it.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Pretty cool, huh?
I think that is very cool. I don't know what to say. I'm just so interested in what you're saying. Now, is this your company? Is it just you, or do you have some other employees?
No, it's just me right now.
Okay.
Back Sue and I. She's the queen.
She's the queen. I agree. Well, Ron, can you tell our viewers what the Soil Savvy Different Soil Test Kit is?
Okay, Soil Savvy is Unibest is a company out of Walla Walla, Washington. Soil Savvy is a backyard test. It's a very low test, and but what it does, it gives you all the nutrient value. Then they have a next level, which is called an Ag Manager. And the Ag Manager test is I can do that. I use that on commercial. Like if I was to go down here and test an onion field or an alfalfa field or something like that, I would use the Ag Manager Kit.
Okay.
That Ag Manager Kit, what it does is if you're growing, let's say you're growing corn,
Okay.
and in the testing, I will ask you, how many bushel of corn do you think that you want to harvest out of? What's your goal?
Right.
So, okay, maybe you'll say it's 218 bushel.
Okay.
Okay, so what'll happen is I'll put that 218 bushel in. Then we will put in, I'll take the soil test, I'll do exactly the same thing that we did before. It's a more in-depth test.
Okay.
So when that test comes back, it's going to tell me how many pounds of nutrient can be taken by the corn in a given time.
Oh,
So it'll
okay.
do it by the hour, by the day. Now what happens is it'll tell you to reach your goal of 218 bushel, you're going to have to add so many pounds of N, so many pounds of P and K and that
Right.
to reach that goal. So we can use that as a diagnostic test. So if you've been growing normally, your average is what you want to have is 218,
Okay.
but you'd really like to get 240.
Okay.
So what we can do at that point is we can put the 240 in there, and it's going to give you a formula. When we get back, it's going to give you the pound per hour, pounds per day, and it's going to give you a chart down there. It's going to tell you of each nutrient it has to have to reach that goal.
Oh, that is amazing.
And this is just, and then here's the next one.
Okay.
This is crazy. Okay, say you're over in San Joaquin Valley.
Okay.
You've been growing rice up out of Colusa, and you're taking the rice out and you're going to put trees in. That's a total guess as to what nutrients you're going to have.
Oh, I can imagine.
So I can tell you exactly what nutrient package you're going to need, and I can take two different types of fertilizer packages, put that together, and I can give you the end result.
Isn't that amazing?
New technology in an
Yeah.
old business of farming.
Sure. Well, you are a tree doctor, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm an old one.
Well, that's all right. That's okay. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been an amazing interview. I just have one last question for you. Okay. If you would, could you please tell our viewers your contact information?
Happy Roots and Shoots. Look up, you look Happy Roots and Shoots up. I'm Ron Bell, and my contact number is 775-600-8201. And you can contact that. You can go to my website, which is on there. It'll give you a lot of data. On the products page is where a lot of you really should look. It'll give you that. It'll give you about me. I talk a little bit about my Pony Express, about my writing, that type of stuff, and then also my work on the ag side.
Nice.
Happy Roots and Shoots.
Isn't that a fun name? I love that name.
You know how that came up?
No, how did you?
Real quick. I drew the logo.
Okay.
In the root section of the logo, there was a face, and I put a smiley face on that sucker, and it's got a Willie Nelson ponytail hanging out the back, and that's why I named it Happy Roots and Shoots.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Isn't that fun? I love that. I love that. All right. Thank you, Ron, so much for being the awesome guest again on Psychic Creations.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, viewers, if you would like to be a guest on Psychic Creations, you can contact me at my website, which is www.sandypsychicstones.com. Thank you so much for watching Psychic Creations, and we'll see you next show.